So that's a way to manipulate your entities. Let's undo that last command. There's a thing called trim here. You love this thing. Trimming means you can trim lines using other lines or entities. Now, I'm going to select this line as my cutting entity. Look what it says. Select the cutting entity first. Or enter, you can select all those things. All right, let's just try enter, see what it does. Then it says to me, select the entities to trim. Now, I can then, if I pick that, it's going to trim away that entity. But that's why all is not so great deal. You don't really control this thing. So let's undo that a bit. Let's trim this entity. Now, I want to use this line to trim these things, okay? Let's just draw another line. I want it a little bit longer. Let's just erase that. Draw another line. I want to go through this circle. Let's do a trim command again. This is my trimming entity. And then it asks me, what do I want to trim? Now look what happens here. If I pick the circle on top, it's going to trim that top part away. If I take this whole thing, it's going to trim the top part away. Right. Let's undo that last command and trim again and pick the opposite side and see what happens. Look at this. It trims the whole, trims the whole thing away and trims the bottom that way. Right, let's look at some other commands. We've now trimmed this thing away. How about we want to rotate this this whole entity here? I'm going to first draw a line. Now to first switch my ortho on. And I'm just draw a line here horizontal from that point just across. Distance is not an issue. Switch my ortho back off again. I want to rotate this thing. Look at what we can do. And now selecting, you can select the ones individually, or you just go that way, grab the whole lot and press enter. Now ask me, where's my rotation point? There's my center point. Okay. And you see what happens. You can just keep this thing rotating and do your thing. So it's rotated it. I don't want to do that. Just undo that command. I want to rotate a controlled scenario here. So I can say there, pick those entities, where's my base point? And look at the choice and says, give me an angle. I can rotate it, exactly direction of 30 degrees, etc. Now if I go 30, what happens? See what happens, go up. Okay? You can go minus 30 as well. Oops, undo last command. But I want to rotate that line to be parallel to that line. So how do I do that? I don't know what that angle is. You can go and measure it, but that's really feeding. You've got the information right here. Let's grab those parts. Right, center point. There we go. Now, what I use here, I think there's a choice here called base or rotation angle. I pick in B for base. And it says to you, what's my angle? Your base angle 0. You don't have a base angle, you don't know. So what you do is go and pick the origin point again and pick the end point of this line as being your base angle. Now look what happens. It uses that as a 0. Now all I need to do is pick the end of that line and voila, that thing's rotated horizontal up to that point. Let's go to undo that command again. Another little function is called mirror. Look at this very cool thing. Now once again, what I want to do is I want to rotate, this is escape that. I want to rotate those two or mirror these two entities about that line. So how do I do that? Press the mirror command. Look at this. Grab the both of them and I press enter to select the entities once you've finished command. I select the start of the mirror line, which is the end point there, and I select the end point there. And now you have a choice. You're either going to, if you press to delete the original entities, it's going to just mirror and delete. Yes, so the answer is no. If you say yes, let's type yes and see what happens. It's just going to mirror and delete the previous entities. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to just do this command again. Press enter, select the entities, start of the mirror line, end of the mirror line, and I say no. And what you now have is actually mirror those components. Looks like a little arrow. Okay, let's rotate this whole lot now to horizontally. We just practiced. So we want to rotate those components and those components. And press enter. Oops, not a mirror. Let's go rotate. I want to rotate that and those. I'm happy with that. Where's my rotation point? Remember I said B for base. There's my base angle. That's the other one. And there, so I've rotated it horizontally. Now, I'm just going to right click and delete that line. The other function we have here is called a scale command, and you have stretch command. Stretch commands you're going to use a lot. Okay, I want to stretch these two lines or those entities from this point to that point. Okay, so how do we do that? So I want to end this point must end up right over there. So we use a stretch command here, and from the right to the left, click across the components. All right, entities. From which point? So I've got that point is what I want to stretch it to all the way to that point. How's that? Very cool. So I've just stretched that thing the way I wanted. I think that's enough for now. Look forward to the next session.